Good morning. My name's Malin. I am your chaplain for today, and I'm going to center us in our prayer. We affirm the oneness of all beings in the cosmos as we each manifest in our own unique and beautiful way to be on purpose to Spirit's calling. We acknowledge the interconnectedness and interbeing of all creation and commit to living and acting in harmony with this oneness in all ways, relevantly loving Mother Earth and the web of all existence. We commit to living sustainably and healthfully in all ways, growing in our consciousness of care and showing up respectful to the earth and to all beings. Both personally and as a community, we say yes to the vibrancy of the planet and the evolving good of all creation. We express God in all our loving actions for the earth, for all people, and for ourselves. We express this love as the Christ. We light this Christ candle as a visible reminder of the presence of the love that we are all.
And good morning. My name is Liz Leighton, and I'm your service assistant today. And today our speaker is Reverend Frank, and he has some very interesting information to share with you. And our music ministry welcomes Heartdream. Thank you so much for being here. And our music ministry today is Cheryl Hodge and Kate Curtis. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Bartolome de las Casas. I don't know this Frank person you spoke of. The year is 1498, and I'm 25 years old. Yeah. I heard that 500 years from now, in the United States of America, in the Americas I love, there is a celebration called the Indigenous Peoples Day, which I guess is tomorrow. So I thought I'd come and tell you my story in 1498 and what I discovered when I came to the New World and met the people of the Indies. Well, it started when I was a young person. And I was in the streets of Seville, and you wouldn't believe it. Christopher Columbus had come back, and he was walking through the streets, and he had these colorful birds, these parrots, and he had all these new animals that nobody had seen before, and apparently potentially had riches. And this new place, this new world was abundant, and it was so exciting, and I couldn't wait to go. I was too young to go at the time, and Christopher Columbus went, and he came back, and each time he'd come, and he'd have people with him, but people like I had never seen before, walking through, speaking languages nobody even knew existed. Nobody in the New World, in the Spain, knew existed. And they walked, and I was just so on fire for discovering what might be there in this place, this new place, this West Indies, as we called it. And not only that, but the whole world meaning Spain, Castile, the kingdoms of Castile and Aragon, Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand from Castile and Aragon had united in a marriage, and we were becoming the new Holy Roman Empire. The Catholic kings, we were this religious society. We were going to bring this new religion to this new world. And it was wonderful. And not only that, the Pope himself had issued what we call a bull and said, and told everybody about how we should think about going to this new world, and how we should show up and what our responsibility was. Oh, it was exciting. One time, I actually got to hear Queen Isabella. I mean, I was from a wealthy family. My family was wealthy, and they were explorers, and I had the explorer energy in me too. So I had to go hear Queen Isabella tell us about the new mandate, the doctrine of discovery. And I couldn't wait. So I went to the court, and I heard Queen Isabella.
I, Queen Isabella of Spain, in this year of 1493, following the wishes of His Holiness, Pope Nicholas, claim that all lands that are not currently ruled by the Christian king of Spain or Portugal can and ought to be considered discovered by Christendom, and all the people, cities, villages, and goods be put under control of Christian princes. You are permitted to invade, capture, vanquish, and subdue all Saracens and all pagans, to reduce their persons to perpetual slavery, and to take away all their possessions and property. I claim this as a glorious new age of discovery. Go forward and know that God has blessed us in freeing the riches from Africa and the Americas for the glory of God. We now appoint to these new islands of the West Indies God-fearing, learned, skilled, and experienced men in order to instruct their inhabitants and residents in the Holy Catholic faith and train them in good morals. This is for the glory of Spain and for the strength of Christendom.
So this first part of my story has to do with the element of earth. You know, earth is a symbol that lets us know where we're grounded, where we're grounded. And it's funny, I thought I was grounded in Spain, the deep thought of bringing Christendom to all the world, because as the doctrine of discovery said, it's good for them, right? It's good for them. But what I was to learn was I was grounded in something much more profound than being a wealthy landowner and being a conquistador and being an enslaver. Oof. But this is the rest of my story. Where did I find myself grounded? So on Christopher Columbus's third tour, in about 1502, I got to go with him. I was part of the ships that went, and I was from a pretty wealthy family, and I was guaranteed that when I got there, that I would have land, a part of what they called the encomienda system, that wealthy Spaniards would come and basically put all the inhabitants in servitude, and God helped them if they didn't obey and comply. So I got there, but I felt pretty safe. Why? Because I had with me a brigade of Spanish soldiers. Tough dudes. So I get to the New World, and I had this large estate, and I was getting wealthy. Ooh, I had property, and I was having money, and of course I had free labor from the indigenous people who were working for me, and I got tremendously wealthy. And not only that, there was something else going on for me at the same time. And I had this deep sense of conflict. And I was also looking in a spiritual life. And I was the first person, actually, to be ordained as a Catholic priest in the New World from all the conquistas that were there. The encomienda system, the landowners, the conquistadors, the diplomats. I was the first one. And as part of being the very first priest, we went on to conquer Cuba. And so the ships rolled in, and we rolled in, and yeah, we conquered it, man. We had those soldiers. People didn't stand a chance, the local indigenous people. Yeah, didn't stand a chance. And then what I saw was the mayhem and the torture and the dismemberments, the burning people alive, the destruction of villages, the sense of this doctrine of discovery that we have a right as Christian people to just come in and take what we want for their good. I didn't see how it was for their good. And I recognized right away that what's happening here is just not right. And so I literally gave away all my lands and all my riches and all my titles. I let it all go. I was so despairing and so discouraged and so conflicted about what was going on in the New World. And I didn't understand. They said this was for the good of the people. How could it be? The people, the indigenous people had rights. They had dignity. They were these beautiful people. I wanted to engage with them. So I gave it all away. And I started a program. I went down to Venezuela. There was a discovery in Venezuela, and I decided I'm going to make a new kind of community where Spaniards and Portuguese and indigenous people would live together in communion. And I found the land, and I was given a grant, and I was able to bring all these people together. And all along, I'm writing letters back to Spain and going, you got to stop this. Something's got to go on. I was writing to the church. I was writing to the king. I was writing to anyone who would listen. We got to do this differently. We can't just come and kill people to convert them. We need to invite people into a life of togetherness. So I started this community in Venezuela. But the indigenous people wanted their freedom, and the Spanish and Portuguese wanted slaves. And it just fell apart and got burned to the ground. I showed up, and it was gone, demolished. What am I going to do? Part 2, little owl who followed me in my walk this morning. Air. So I decided I needed an opportunity to figure out what was mine to do and how I was going to go about it. And all my activity and going out and working so hard and diligently and trying to start new communities, everything I tried seemed to fail. I needed to find a time of peace. And I needed to have a time of prayer. So I went away to a place called San Domingo, where there was a small monastic community. And I decided, I just need to go away. Many people will tell you my history. They'll say, oh, well, Bartolome de las Casas, you built churches, or you were doing instruction, or you were doing writing. And yeah, I was doing some of that, but the most important part was I turned to an inner guide in a time of prayer. So join me, if you will, in a time of prayer and reflection as well, as we start with a song called When I Pray.
When I pray, I feel my heart
I was a monk for 10 years. And we prayed, and I want you to join me in a moment of prayer here now. And I'm going to start by suggesting we open our hearts to the places of the world right now that are in such need of a prayer for peace. And whether it's in the Middle East or whether it's in Europe, whether it's right here in our country, all places that are feeling a sense of dis-ease, conflict. May we open our hearts now and feeling that energy of spirit that brings harmony. Indeed, it's a synonym of love. That brings love and harmony and connection and an understanding of our coherence, an understanding of our interbeing with all things. We offer a prayer that this harmony, this vibration of love goes forward and blesses all people on the world, all creatures of the world, indeed the planet itself. And on this occasion, which you call Indigenous Peoples Day, our hearts also go out to all the people who have indigenous roots here in the Americas, for the many years of dis-ease and disharmony that they have experienced, and we have experienced it, those who are not indigenous to this land. May our hearts be open again to that place of interbeing, connectedness, harmony. All of these are synonymous with the word love. Love. And now we say out loud any other things we want to pray for. And if you feel comfortable, hold them in your heart or speak them out loud now. For all the people and situations we have mentioned and those we are holding in our hearts, again, we hold them gently in a spirit of love, of harmony, of connectedness, of seeing the perfect unfolding of each situation to be in harmony with the divine mind, to be in harmony with our highest and best calling. Yeah, so it is. And now with your feet just comfortably on the floor, if you're not comfortable already, we lead you just in a moment of meditation. And when I was here as Bartolome de las Casas, one of my favorite scriptures was John 10:10, where Jesus tells the disciples, I have come to bring you life and to bring it more abundantly. So as you relax, maybe loosen your shoulders and loosen your fingers and just settle into this space. Hear these words from the divine to your heart. I have come to bring you life and to bring it abundantly. And maybe with each in-breath, you can say, I am that life, and I live abundantly. With an in-breath, I am life. I live it abundantly. I am life. I live it abundantly. And breathe on this energy for just a minute. being in that energy of the I am presence, I am divine life, and I have it abundantly. Now switch the words. And from your perspective, from the perspective of the I am consciousness, from the divine energy of your very soul, say, I have come to give life, and I share it abundantly. We each are called to be that same essence, that same presence of the Christ that Jesus was. And we can say like he did, I have come to share life, to give life, and to share it abundantly. We breathe in. I come to give life. I share it abundantly. The life that I am, I have come also to give life. And I share it abundantly. And from that I am consciousness, know the truth of the very power of each of us that we have, each of us individually, is the I am consciousness to give and to share and to bring life bringers, to bring life givers, to bring joy givers, to bring transformers. That's who we are. I have come to give life to others, to share my life with others, to support life with others. And I give it abundantly. Breathe with that energy for just a moment. I come to give life. I give it abundantly. So we say, as Jesus said to us, I have come to give life. I give it abundantly. So 10 years of sitting in meditation and prayer. And by the way, part of my contemplative practice is I was writing. And I was writing letters to the court of Spain. And I was writing letters to bishops. And I was writing letters to leaders and governors. Anybody I could write who had influence, I wrote them letters and said, we need to stop how we're treating these native peoples. But it was hard. Part 3 of my life, water. Now, the symbol of water is wonderful because on one hand, it's cleansing and it's nurturing and it's life-giving and it's just lovely. But the other part of water is it can just come roaring down a river or like in a hurricane and wipe out a town. It's powerful. It's destructive. And when it's focused to where it needs to go, it can just move everything that's in its way out of its way. And so I was in the energy of water. I'd come out of this quiet time and I was ready to change the world. And so I got right back into what I was doing before. And I was talking to everyone. And then, this is funny, they made me the bishop of Chiapas. I guess all those letters I was getting on someone's nerves. And the king, Ferdinand, or at this point, his grandson Charles is now king, is listening to me. And the Pope and the bishops are listening to me. And I'm telling them, if you keep enslaving these people, think of what this is doing to the soul of our nation. This is taking us down, man. This is ruining our heart. This is destroying our soul. We cannot keep enslaving these people and treating them so unkindly. And by this time, I've only been in the New World for like 30 years, right? But already I've seen millions of people who have died. In your terms today, you would call this one of the first great genocides. Genocide. They say over the years, and I've looked at the statistics from your time, of the millions of people in the Americas, not to mention the few million in the Indies, but the millions, it was reduced down to less than 250,000 people. Genocide. Disease, starvation, slavery. And I saw this, and I was going to be the voice to say, no more. No more. This is not what we need to be doing. So I went back to a place in Guatemala, and I said, I'm going to start this community again, a community of indigenous people and Spaniards who living in peace, who can find harmony, who can learn from each other's traditions, who can then find the best of these cultures so we can live together in peace. And I kept writing letters, and I kept saying, this is the way to do it. But what was working against me was wealth, greed. People were getting really rich. Slavery was a deal for them, I guess. Deal for them financially. Don't know what it was doing to their souls. Don't know what it was doing to their hearts. That was my concern. How do I reach into people's hearts and talk about life and love and transformation and the divine spirit? But my words were having an effect. As a matter of fact, I wrote this thing, and King Charles, he wrote this thing called the New Laws. The New Laws. They came down from Spain. Oh, by the way, I had been taking boat trips back and forth to Spain from the New World. Now, you have nice boats these days. These were rough trips in my time. And I was talking to bishops and kings and really trying to change them. And it was working. And the new laws came out. And it said no more enslaving indigenous people. It won the day. Except nobody listened to the new laws. The conquistadors were getting even more violent and more greedy and more aggressive. Oh, you met one of those soldiers. Tough hombres. They were getting wealthy. And it was a wide open world, not like today. You were out on what's considered the frontier for a Spaniard. It was home for the indigenous, and there's not great communication. And I said, okay, there's only one way I'm really going to change this. Because what I realized, that even though I was writing these letters and these new laws were coming out, there was another thread. There was something else going on. There was a voice, a powerful voice in the Spanish nobility that was saying, yeah, ignore those. You have the right to take over that country. It's God's law that you've taken these awful these awful indigenous people and to enslave them. It's good for them. It makes them Christian. It makes them cultured like us Spaniards are. Because they don't have culture, right? That's what they said. And I knew the only way I was finally going to make a change is I needed to go back to Spain and I needed to deal with it right at the court of the king. So I was thinking I'm going to do that eventually when a bunch of people came and I found out another one of the bishops in Mexico was killed because he was trying to promote peace and promote an end to the slavery. And all of a sudden I noticed that other people like me were showing up not alive. And then I got attacked in my at the bishop place. And I said, time for me to go. I need to go and go right to the heart of things. This is the last part of my story. And we'll call this one fire. See if this will work. And so I went back to Spain and I said, there's one person who writes about as much as I do. Oh, and I'd written a lot. Matter of fact, looking ahead 500 years, the Bellingham Library can get you some of my books. They're still in publication. Yeah. The short history of the destruction of the Indies, the history of the Indies, and many other little booklets that I wrote. But there was someone else who was writing things and saying almost like the exact opposite of what I was saying. And I needed to go confront him. So I went to the king and he said, I need to have this argument worked out once and for all. You need to have a debate, Bartolome, that's what he said to me, with your apparent arch rival. And we're going to go to this place called Valladolid, a town, Valladolid, that was the town. And you want to go there and you guys hash this out in front of these bishops and these lawyers and figure it out. What's the right way for us to deal with the indigenous people of the Americas? Go have a debate. So I went, my greatest moment, and I met my arch nemesis, Juan Ginés Sepulveda. Tough debater. What have you to say, Sepulveda?
Our Spanish colonists have the right to the property that they discovered for their good stewardship and for the benefit of Spain. The land trust system is just, and enslaving the native peoples is good for them. They have a chance to live in a Christian household and under Christian discipline. The native peoples in the West Indies are natural slaves, and our Spanish presence will benefit them greatly. Need I remind you of the Great Commission from our Lord to make disciples of all nations?
Oh, Sepulveda, you've got it all wrong, all backwards. And by the way, you've never even been there, and you act like you know. No, that to make disciples, sure. How? Through love, through sharing, through an invitation to join into the life. And not only for us to tell them, but to listen to their stories as well, and to find the new realities of how the divine, how God has worked through all people. These people are human beings. They do not need to be enslaved. And if we have any rights, it's only for Spain, it's only to the energies of the people who are part of the Spanish kingdom. We do not have a right to the land. The land belongs to the people who live there. By the way, they took part of that from this discussion for the U.S. Constitution 300 years later. The land belongs to the people who live there. And so you're saying they should be enslaved. That's totally false. They're human beings. They have dignity, rights. Not true.
I say hardly. Indians are barbarous. The Indians are barbarous. They commit crimes against natural law. Against natural law. They oppress and kill innocent people, and in fact, if they resist their enslavement, then it is just war that is waged against such infidels. Infidels.
So this argument went on. You wouldn't believe this debate went on for months, months. And I, Bartolome de las Casas, would meet with Sepulveda, and we would argue this over and over and over, pulling back into Aristotle and Augustine and, trying to find these old philosophers. And I was saying, you don't know. The philosophy is I'm there with these people. They're fully human, and they do not need to be enslaved. This was direct quotes from the material we got from the Council of Valladolid. Direct quotes. Thank you, Sepulveda. And so where are we? 1551, the king changed the laws. They started to enforce the new laws even more. There was more edicts that came down and told people to stop enslaving the Native Americans. And you know what? Bartolome, I claim, I won that debate. And so many things changed. As a matter of fact, there was so much pressure to stop the enslavement of Native peoples. And here is, of my story, is the saddest part for my heart. This, although I might look at my life as some kind of success measured by I lived my calling, there's one piece I missed. One piece I didn't really see coming, and I failed. When the Spanish law said you cannot enslave the indigenous people anymore, they said, fine, we'll go to Africa and we'll find other people to enslave. Didn't see that coming. So my story has a mixed ending. I'd love to say, oh, and by the way, 1552, Sepulveda said, I won the argument. Who won the argument? But in all measure, nobody's talking about Sepulveda in 2000s. Bartolome is me. I'm considered by some, I'm just saying this is what people have said about me. I'm the apostle to the Indies. The father of the first human rights statements ever written. For human rights, from social rights, from responsibilities. My material was used for the U.S. Constitution as part of their understanding about who should really own the land that they live on. But in all these ways, I missed that other part. I missed the other part of the greed. It needed to be a bigger statement about love for all people. It was a big world. And yet, I will just leave my story to the mercy of you who listen. I was on fire, and I did what I thought I was called to, my understanding of my calling. And so I'll leave you with this. This is what I did. I think to much good. In some ways, I missed things that I'm embarrassed about. In some ways, I did it well. In some ways, not so well. But what I did was this. I heard the message. I heard the message of the gospel. I've come to give you life, that you may have it abundantly. And that same spirit from which Jesus said those words, I adopted for myself. I have come to give life and to give it to abundantly to all I meet, everyone I meet, in the planet I'm engaged with. And I end my story with this for you on this Indigenous Peoples Day, where I celebrate the indigenous people, where I celebrate all peoples, especially those who are being oppressed, and for those who are not being the beneficiaries of the good of society in the same way that I think we'd all want to see in this equity, this apostle for liberation. And I leave it with you to say the same thing as you go forward today, You know that the Spirit has given you life and given it to you abundantly. Can each of us say, I am here to experience life and to give life? More the 12 powers, to give life, to give love, to give understanding, to give faith, to give zeal, to give wisdom, to give order, to give life, to give love, to give all the powers. I am here, I experience it, and I want to give it. And I want to give it more abundantly. Yeah. So for Indigenous Peoples Day, let's do that. Let's remember, we want to give life. Let's give it more abundantly, okay? Amen. Amen.